Somewhere in the ocean right now, a dolphin has been fully conscious, alert, and functioning for over a week straight. No full sleep, no collapse, no breakdown. If a human tried the same thing, their brain would start shutting down in days. So what does a dolphin's brain know that yours doesn't? Every night, your entire brain goes offline. Both hemispheres shut down together. Your consciousness disappears for hours at a time. And if something dangerous happened right next to you while you were deep in that state, there's a real chance you wouldn't notice until it was already too late. That vulnerability is baked directly into how mammal sleep normally works. Deep unconsciousness, full body shutdown, complete disconnection from the world around you for hours at a stretch. For a dolphin, that exact same kind of sleep would be a death sentence, and not in some abstract metaphorical sense. Dolphins are mammals, just like you are, which means they breathe air, not water, and every single breath requires a conscious, deliberate decision to surface and inhale. There's no automatic reflex handling that process, the way your own body automatically keeps breathing while you're deeply asleep and completely unaware of it. If a dolphin's entire brain shut down the exact way yours does every single night, it would simply stop breathing, begin to sink, and drown within a matter of minutes. So somewhere along an extraordinarily long evolutionary path, dolphins ended up with a solution so strange that when a researcher first proposed it back in 1964, most of the scientific community at the time genuinely didn't believe him. Here's what that researcher, John Lilly, actually observed, closely enough to write about it. Dolphins resting quietly at the surface of the water with only one eye closed at a time, never both eyes together the way you'd expect from a sleeping animal. It took years of careful follow-up research, using brain-wave monitoring equipment attached directly to sleeping dolphins in controlled study conditions, to fully confirm exactly what was actually happening inside their heads. And the real answer turned out to be even stranger than that original surface-level observation. Dolphins simply don't sleep the way virtually every other mammal on the planet does. Instead, they shut down one entire half of the brain completely, letting it drop into genuine, measurable deep sleep, while the other half stays fully awake, fully alert, and fully in direct control of breathing, and every basic survival function that keeps the animal alive. And the eye connected to that still-awake hemisphere stays open the entire time, actively scanning and watching for predators or obstacles, while the opposite eye, controlled entirely by the currently sleeping hemisphere, stays completely and consistently shut. This precise phenomenon is called unihemispheric sleep, and once researchers finally confirmed it beyond doubt, they discovered the underlying mechanism was even more precisely timed than anyone had initially expected going in. Roughly every couple of hours, the dolphin switches which hemisphere is currently resting and which one is currently awake, like flipping a switch back and forth, continuing that same steady rhythm for the dolphin's entire natural life. Each side of the brain gets its fair share of deep, genuinely restorative slow-wave sleep, just delivered in smaller installments spread throughout the day, never all at once, and never both hemispheres resting simultaneously the way yours do every night. Some dolphins carry out this entire process while floating almost completely motionless at the surface, a specific behavior researchers have come to call logging, simply because from above the water's surface, a resting dolphin genuinely looks like a drifting wooden log. Other dolphins instead continue swimming slowly and steadily the entire time this is happening, using the currently alert half of the brain to navigate open water, avoid obstacles, and coordinate every physical movement of the body, all while the other half of that same brain is fully, measurably unconscious. But here's where the story takes its first real meaningful turn, the specific detail that separates this from simply being a curious biological sleep quirk worth a passing mention. Researchers specifically studying dolphin cognition and sustained alertness during unihemispheric sleep found something that should be functionally impossible based on nearly everything else we know about sleep across other mammal species. Dolphins tested repeatedly during this alternating half-brain state showed virtually no measurable drop in reaction time, environmental awareness, or overall cognitive performance, even after remaining in that same alternating pattern continuously for extended, sustained periods of time. In one landmark study conducted by researchers, including scientists affiliated with the National Marine Mammal Foundation, dolphins were closely monitored, maintaining fully constant vigilant behavior, actively using echolocation to continuously track everything happening in their surrounding environment, for 15 consecutive days without a single full night of normal whole-brain sleep anywhere in that stretch. 15 days. Continuously alert, continuously responsive, continuously measurably functional the entire time. Now stop and compare that directly to what happens inside your own brain under even a fraction of that same kind of pressure. The longest scientifically documented case of voluntary human sleep deprivation sits at just over 11 consecutive days, and long before that specific record was even reached, the human subject involved was already experiencing vivid hallucinations, severe and repeated memory lapses, slurred and increasingly confused speech, and genuinely dangerous breakdowns in basic real-time decision-making ability. Human brains, deprived of full, whole brain sleep for extended periods, don't simply get more tired the longer it goes on. They begin to actively malfunction in measurable, observable ways, and if pushed consistently far enough, sustained total sleep deprivation in humans can eventually become directly fatal. A dolphin, relying entirely on unihemispheric sleep, appears able to maintain something remarkably close to that same extended level of alertness for far longer, seemingly almost indefinitely under the right conditions, without ever triggering that same catastrophic mental and physical breakdown, because it was never actually fully depriving itself of sleep in the first place. It was simply splitting the entire job cleanly in half, one hemisphere resting properly and completely while the other stayed genuinely fully functional the entire time. Why does any of this actually matter beyond being a strange standalone fact about ocean mammals? Because it reveals something genuinely profound about what sleep actually is at its core, and what biological purpose it's actually serving. We tend to think of sleep as a single unified state that either happens completely or doesn't happen at all. Essentially an on or off switch, all or nothing in between. Dolphins prove that basic assumption fundamentally wrong. Sleep, at its most fundamental biological level, appears to be a necessity handled entirely at the level of individual brain tissue, not necessarily by the whole organism acting together all at once. If half a brain can genuinely rest while the other half simultaneously keeps an entire animal fully alive, fully alert, and fully capable of complex coordinated behavior, then the boundary separating sleeping from waking is far blurrier, far more flexible, and far stranger than most of us have ever seriously considered before now. So the next time you find yourself lying awake at 3 in the morning, completely unable to fall asleep no matter how hard you try, remember that somewhere in an ocean far away, a dolphin is drifting silently at the surface. One eye gently closed, one eye steadily watching the dark water for any sign of danger, one half of its brain quietly dreaming while the other half keeps it fully alive and alert. It never fully leaves consciousness behind entirely, and it never fully surrenders to sleep either. It exists, permanently, somewhere in the exact space between the two. And maybe the real question worth genuinely sitting with isn't just how a dolphin manages that extraordinary balancing act. It's whether asleep and awake were ever really as cleanly separate as we've always simply assumed they were.